Hi everyone, Babula and I are back with you again to continue following the star trails in Aquarius for this lunar cycle, and which is new moon in Virgo, which is an earth sign, isn't it?
It is an earth sign, that's right.
Yeah, I'm just wondering how poor old earth signs are going in all of this tumultuous times, because we're being challenged to what was I going to say? Be more progressive and break free. Earth signs don't always want to do that, do they?
No, they don't. And all of the kind of stability and groundedness and sense of security that earth signs naturally want to create and want to live by, everything is just in turmoil, isn't it? And upheaval. And it's like we're living in constant earthquake energy almost. There's just so much disruption and uncertainty on every level, isn't it?
Yeah. So what's in store for us over the next 2 weeks?
Okay. So the new moon occurs on Tuesday the 7th at 10:51 a.m. for people who like that kind of precision, which is a very Virgo thing to say anyway. So Tuesday morning on the 7th, that marks the beginning of the new lunar cycle for the following 4 weeks. And it'll be at 14 degrees of Virgo, so smack bang in the middle of the sign. So Virgo, I wanted to talk quite a bit about Virgo. It's a really interesting sign. And I always feel like Virgo and Scorpio can sometimes get a bit of bad press and negative reaction from people. But there's actually a lot to say about each of them that I always hope will kind of enlighten people a little bit more about, why they might have certain tendencies. So in Virgo, the innate energy of Virgo is about purification, cleansing, purification, refining, fine-tuning, precision, looking at the details, the specifics. And that can manifest, of course, on just a regular human level as obsessions about diet, obsessions about cleanliness and tidying. You can't put anything down because the Virgo's tidying it all up, before you have a chance to move. So people often see Virgo like that, a bit obsessive.
To be able to do all those things, they have to analyze situations and
exactly
things that are objective to themselves, even analyze themselves, I suppose, too. So they because it's all about the details with Virgo, and that's really getting them to focus on things.
It's so interesting that it's so analytical, because it's an earth sign and yet it's ruled by the planet Mercury, which is a planet that governs the mind. And so Virgo's got this interesting combination of the mind and the intellect and the capacity to analyze and be very precise mentally, but it combines it with a hands-on earthy pragmatism. So that's why Virgos are often incredibly skilled at doing stuff, fixing stuff. You see a lot of men and women who work in various trades. They often have, strong Virgo energies, or people who work in the healing, health, medical arenas, hands-on healing, the practice of medicine, but they're also using their intellect and their capacity to analyze and discriminate. They have to be very particular.
Yeah, they do.
That's right. So they do a lot of training. I always feel like words like training, skills is very Virgo. You do the training under the expert, the master, and you're the student, because you have to learn. You have to learn the trade, learn the skills, and then you might master them yourself. Yeah. So yes, it can be a bit obsessive compulsive. Yes, it can be, polishing everything to within an inch of its life, but it's coming from that urge to want to see things in order.
Yes.
There's a love of order, turning all the spice jars around so they're lined up perfectly, or all the books in the bookshelf according to author or color or shape or size.
They can be a little bit OCD or obsessive compulsive.
Absolutely. You know, all signs have their kind of psychological challenges, and that can be one in Virgo for sure.
Yeah. Interesting, isn't it? Because I was looking earlier at some notes I'd had from years ago when I was doing some training, and how each of the signs have a statement, I guess. So Aries is I am.
Yes.
And Virgo is I analyse.
That's right.
Yeah. So
that's right.
Really interesting how that fulfills itself through the sign.
It is, and it's I analyse, figure it out, work out what's wrong and what needs repair and improvement, and then set about doing something about that, fixing it, repairing it, improving. You know, like they're handy people to have around the house. You know, something breaks, they're going to fix it or figure out how to get it repaired, or, you know. Yeah. So it's also, I discovered this some years ago around some Virgo friends and Virgo people. When you stop and actually feel into their energy, there's something very fine and often very subtle and exquisite here. You know, it's opposite Pisces. Those two signs are both very sensitive. I think Virgo is very sensitive in the body. They're very sensitive about their physical environment. They feel out of sorts, disturbed if their physical environment isn't in order. Like, it's a very real thing.
Yeah, absolutely. It's also, Virgo also covers different parts of the body, and particularly the intestine, doesn't it, as well?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So in the whole medical astrology realm, Virgo is the sign of the whole digestive process, very specifically, and in general, all the digestive organs, but specifically the small intestine, where all the digesting and discriminating processes go on. The body is discriminating and making choices, and this goes here, that goes there, that's waste, that's to be sent over there. You know, and it's this long channel in the body. So, you know, when people are feeling stressed or overworked, which is a Virgo thing, it can, or worried, which is a Virgo, can really impact their digestion and their general sense of health and well-being.
So they can be workaholics?
Definitely. Definitely. They're built to work. Like, if you've come in as a Virgo sun sign, you're here to work, you know, roll up your sleeves, get on with it. You've got a job to do. But they're inclined to want to do that anyway. But it can be part of the obsessive compulsive thing, like just working and not taking a break and not de-stressing. And not, the opposite sign is Pisces, where we get to relax and chill out. So
the mind's sort of in dreamland, you know. That's
right. Meanwhile, in Virgo, you know, the mind's like just really constantly analysing. And
isn't it? I was reading it also governs it governs occupation, but also governs pets, which I found.
It does.
Yeah.
And look, these things are so real, because this is my practice and it's what I do, you know, and has been for most of my adult life. I observe these things all the time, and you'll see all the time Virgos or Virgo rising, Virgo moon people, they've either got pets, and often quite a few of them, or there's just this incredible love of animals and also nature in general. It's an earth sign, but absolute love of the animal kingdom and pets. It might be their work. They might work in animal shelters or be vets or taking in strays, you know, and they cannot understand for a moment how anybody could mistreat an animal. It's inconceivable to most Virgos.
And also, I certainly agree about the nature. I mean, that's why I'm wearing my foresty top, and you've got
exactly. And I've got the green goddess behind me. Yeah,
but I think people still have to remember, because there'll be people who are Virgo sitting here going, well, I don't relate to that. So this is just classic Virgo energy.
That's right.
All the other things that are in our chart.
That's right. There's all sorts of other mitigating factors in our chart. You know, we're a mixture of lots of things. So yes, there's a few key areas that Virgo governs, which is really kind of, the sun's in Virgo. It's been here for 2 weeks. Mercury, I've just gone blank on where Mercury currently is. Let me just double check that. Mercury's in Libra, but Mars is in Virgo, and now we're having the Virgo new moon. So there's this strong energy field of Virgo with us. So people might be finding that they're really addressing health issues. I mean, it's a major story in the public arena.
Oh, yeah.
Hygeia, the goddess of medicine, she's the asteroid, she's here too. And, our health. And so health is an issue, getting a house in order, sorting out files, cleaning out cupboards. I've been doing that. I've been, I call it zenning, wanting to just get rid of more stuff, taking more loads to the tip, but also to the up shop.
So is there a tendency for them to be minimalists?
Yes.
Right.
Less is more, yes, absolutely. Don't like clutter. There's always exceptions. So there may be Virgos listening to this and say, you don't want to come and see my house.
Yes, because there were extremes, aren't they? Because they're either really neat or real slobs.
Yeah. and the Virgo who's really untidy and has a lot of clutter, you'll find probably in their working life, they put all their energy there, and maybe the house is in a bit of chaos because they're totally focused on their job or their work.
Or they have a very ordered mind.
Very ordered mind, very analytical mentally. That's right. So work, health, it's also the sign that's got a lot to do with our daily rituals, just what are our daily patterns, which is also connected to health. Are we willing to change some of the things we do every day that aren't in our best interest? All our bad habits. We can have good habits, we can have bad habits.
Yes, like not changing your socks.
That's right. Or eating a whole chocolate bar every single day, and you love it and makes you feel great, but you kind of know it's not really doing you any good. But yeah, so are we willing to let go of some of it? And Virgo's the time when people often feel like the Virgo time of year, and in the Southern Hemisphere, it's spring. So often people get this urge when spring comes and it's Virgo month. I've got to clean up my diet. I've got to cut back on the coffee. I've got to stop eating so much sugar or get more exercise. So these are the things that we start addressing. Our attention goes there.
So poor old Virgo is really getting a bit of a knock around. Actually, all of their signs, I suppose.
Yeah.
Through this whole Aquarian upheaval, and revolution, because it's all about change and responding to that change, isn't it? Whereas these signs not liking that at all.
No, well, that's right.
Yeah.
Uranus is in Taurus now for these 7 years. That's massive. And Pluto, of course, has been making a long journey through Capricorn. And it's only got a couple of years to go. So these 3 earth signs are now with the Virgo highlighted. It's a big deal on planet Earth signs. Planet Earth is undergoing this immense, radical, painful, difficult metamorphosis.
Because if I always, for some people who ask, I always say, well, just think of the elements.
That's right.
Of fire, well, that's quite adaptable. It's here. You never know. Right. Predictable. And air just blows all around the place.
Yeah.
Water can, it goes around the rocks and it adapts around to the easiest path. But earth signs,
That's right. That's right. It's the body, it's our money, it's our land, it's our garden, it's our food. We're really getting very basic and pragmatic, aren't we, in Earth? Our senses, what do we smell? What do we, yeah.
Do you find that Virgos have a higher sense acuity?
Cheryl, I think they do. I think, it's very sensitive, and I think they're very sensitive in their body. I have a very good, dear and old friend who's a healer, an acupuncturist, a herbalist, very skilled, very knowledgeable, Virgo moon. And her body sensitivity is extraordinary. I've spent lot of time with her over the years, and you know, she can take a herb or something or a supplement or a certain food, and within hours she's feeling the effect it's having on her body, sometimes even more quickly than that. You know, she's going, oh no, that's not doing what I need it to do, you know. And so then she'll refine her choice, you know, if she's making up a mixture for herself, or, you know, with a client, like very, very refined acute sense in her own body, but also how herbs work and how the body system works. It's extraordinary, really. It's a gift for some people to have that kind of body sensory intelligence, and it's almost like a psychic capacity through the body and the physical senses.
Yeah, well, I've got a friend who's a Virgo, and he's got a very keen sense of smell and hearing. And he'll say, "Can you smell that?" And I'll go, "Smell what?" You know?
Right.
Well, can you hear that? I go, "Hear what?" You know, like, I just can't hear it. Like, oh, okay. Until my attention's drawn to it, I go, oh,
yeah.
okay. So it's really interesting. That's why I asked that question. Do they have higher sensory and very good eyesight too? This person has.
Yes.
Miles.
Yes. It's so, because you know, they say that dogs can pick up, you know, incredible sounds that we can't, but it's that refined, the senses are refined. And I think that's such an important word for Virgo. Like, so while we're going through this Virgo phase and this new moon, and over the few days of the new moon, the day before, the day of, the day after, and so on, is, I think, a really opportune time for us to be paying close attention to our daily habits, to our bodies, to what we're eating, to what we could improve, you know, like, I mean, just on a basic level, Virgo says something's wrong here, I need to fix it. You know, I need to repair this, I need to heal this, I could do this better.
Yeah. Yeah.
The downside of that, Virgos can drive themselves crazy because in their view, nothing's ever perfect or good enough. So the inner critic, that's an important theme here. We got to watch it. The inner critic doesn't take over and really drive us crazy.
Yes. So if you're living with someone who's a bit on the negative side and they're always whinging or pointing out what's wrong, it's highly likely they've got a strong Virgo.
That's right. That's right. So that's really something to watch with this sign. You know, if we're just being overcritical and overzealous in our perfectionist tendencies. Yeah. Because the Virgo sees every little thing that's not right. Yeah. And the person's going, looks fine to me.
You know, but they don't always see it within themselves.
That's true.
It's really interesting. Like all of us, of course.
That's right. That's right. So they can be sensitive to other people's criticism as well.
But we love you, Virgos.
I know. I mean, I know some beautiful Virgo people, absolutely beautiful. And they're often very sweet and kind people. It's not a loud, noisy, rambunctious energy. You know, it's fairly quiet and it's more subdued. And, you know, it comes after Leo. You know, you can't miss Leo. It's out there. But Virgo sort of is a very different energy. It's more subtle.
Yes.
Yeah, can be very, very beautiful. And as I said, can be quite exquisite.
Too.
What's that?
Quite reliable too.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, as I said, it's very handy people to have around, you know. If you've got one in your household, fantastic. Something needs fixing, improving, you know, whether it's technology or practical things.
I bet they'd be really good at bushcraft.
Yes, exactly.
Well, yes.
So if they're inclined to nature, absolutely. Love to grow their own food, grow herbs. There's something about herbs and Virgo. Like I've started, I mean, I don't have a garden where I am where I can plant things in the soil. So I have to grow things in pots, which is not ideal for me. I'd love to have a garden where I can dig and do compost and all of that. But you know, I've always grown herbs and I love flowers, which is Virgo as well. I'm not a Virgo, but I do have a Virgo South Node. And, but I'm really getting more productive. I've got some bigger pots and things, and I'm starting to put in little seeds of vegetables and things. You know, that self-sufficiency urge is often strong in the earth signs. It's just a natural thing to do in the earth signs.
Yeah. So I wonder, would they have a tendency to be preppies?
Yes, could well be. Like, got to get organized.
Yes, absolutely.
Things are getting real. Got to get organized. Think ahead.
Yes.
Yeah. And make the list. We make lists in Virgo. You know, okay, done that. Then we're adding more things to the bottom of the list, of course, but it's a great pleasure for Virgo to tick off the list, you know. The task. They love a task.
Yes. I must have some of that in me, because I always have a weekly to-do list with the daily to-dos, and
there you go. That's right.
it crossed off. And
cross it off. That's I've got a big fat notebook, and every time I think of something, I could just write it on the notebook. There's no order, but at least it's written down. It's out of my head.
Yes. And when you cross it off, it's like achievement.
It's fabulous. That's right. That's right. So I just want to speak. It's also a desire to be of service. If a Virgo says, "Can I help you with that?" they actually mean it. It's not just a throwaway line. So can I help you with that means I'd really love to help you with that. Now, if you're open to them doing it and you're not going to feel offended because you think they might be criticizing the way you're doing it, they actually genuinely want to help. You know, so you'll see them in all kinds of service industries. They generally want to be of service. The other thing that's of interest to me around Virgo, and we can spend a bit of time talking about Virgo, because there's not, interestingly enough, that over the next 2 weeks, a lot of major movements with the planets, but we'll get to what else is happening. This is something that really got my attention a few years ago. Spiritually, Virgo has a great deal to do with our relationship to what we might call the divine feminine, the sacred feminine, the mother, because the word Virgo comes from, you know, the Latin, I think it's Latin root. It means virgin, Virgo, virgin, virginal, which means it doesn't mean originally a woman who hasn't had sex and she still has her hymen in place. You know, this desire for the, you know, this idea in Christianity and some other traditional religions that a good woman is a virgin before she gets married. And, you know, the old traditions, which are still in place in some places, you know, it's actually tested and checked and just to prove that she was a virgin. Originally, virgin meant a woman who was sexually active, but it was on her terms. And she was whole, sovereign, independent, free, made her own decisions, she was pure and whole unto herself. And way back in the age of the goddess, in the old temples, the Vestal virgins, which is all part of the Virgo story, they actually performed rituals, sacred sexual rites. And it was a great honor to be chosen to participate. And there was all sorts of rituals of purification and so on, all in honor of the goddess. So, you know, but with Christianity, it got twisted and turned into like Mary is the virgin mother of Jesus. And she's then held up as the epitome of the good woman, and a woman must be a virgin. But actually, it really means she's a pure vessel for the Holy Child. You know, so it's that. It got very distorted because of the whole patriarchal background. So, you know, a woman has to be, you know, the celibate nun, a woman has to be celibate, chaste, pure, unsullied, that kind of language, you know. But Virgo is an earth sign, and earth signs are very sensual and physical. And Virgos may not put their sexuality on display, but they're very sexual people, actually. It's interesting, you know, it's like these things get very distorted in the culture. Yeah.
Interesting, because I know you're going to talk about Vesta, aren't you?
Yes, well, Vesta is an asteroid.
I know, but I'm just thinking
Yes.
it's the shining virgin that we covered in your workshop recently.
That's right. In the Zoom, 3-part Zoom seminars that I'm running on the asteroids. And so we talked about Vesta, and Vesta, the Vestal Virgin, and her symbol is a beautiful symbol of the flame, the sacred flame of the temple, our inner flame, which is never sullied or tainted. It is pure. And when we're connected to, that's really the real spiritual esoteric essence of what Virgo's about.
So it's like a double whammy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, because you've got the moon in Virgo, and then you've got Vesta as well.
Yeah. That's right. That's right. And so people with Virgo energy in their chart, if they're, and people who are listening to this, I'm going to assume that many of them or most of them will relate to this in some way, that there is this sense of aspect of life of themselves that is holy and unsullied. It's our soul, our spirit, our inner flame, which is absolutely pure and cannot be touched. And I just think it's really helpful with all of the signs, there's the outer human expression in all its different colors and shapes and forms, and some of them are not pretty and they're difficult, but I love to investigate what's the actual essence here, on a deep, deep spiritual soul level. What's the essence that we're talking about? So I hope that helps us to understand that, behind that kind of critical nitpicking, cleaning everything in sight tendency that Virgo can have, there's actually something else going on. It's the priestess in the temple wanting to make the temple pure and pristine as a holy place.
Yeah, with that I guess striving for perfection.
Yes.
And when we talk about that in its ultimate form, it's about being as close to godly as we possibly can.
Exactly. Exactly. And of course, as an earth sign, it's related to the feminine aspect of that, because the earth signs are about form, aren't they? Physical form, the body, the garden, the herbs, health, the work, the job that you do. Yeah, physical expression of all of that essence. Yeah, so here we are in the Virgo new moon. So, yeah.
So we've got a quiet lunar cycle this time.
Yes, it's not quite as dramatic as some of them have been. On the 11th, Venus, which has been in Libra for about 3.5 weeks, Venus very, very happy in her own sign. On the 11th, she leaves Libra, where, we talked about this last time, Venus has been very happily working towards harmony, balance, beautification, and so on. She moves into Scorpio. And Scorpio is a very deep, intense, transformational, powerful water sign. And Venus, the goddess of love, of beauty, of relation, the urge to relate, to connect, to share, she takes a dive into the deep waters of Scorpio.
So is that not just going deep within yourselves, but going deep with others? And,
yes,
maybe having deep conversations or deep relations, deep and meaningful, I don't know, anything, that you can relate to, really. Yeah.
Definitely. In Scorpio, the natural urge and capacity and ability is to uncover what's beneath the surface. And to actually go there, not just take a lid off, but actually walk down into the, take those steps down into the basement. And, and people with Scorpio, just naturally, that's what they do. And when Venus is there, what I've observed with people that I know with it, They want to really understand what the other person's about. Like, I'm really trying to get where you're coming from, says Venus in Virgo. And that can be too intense and too much for another person. Like, whoa, that's too much for me. But I just want to really know. I want to understand, why you feel that way about that, And other people can find that a bit intense. And because Scorpio has a very sexual energy as well. So in engaging with someone sexually, Virgo, Venus in Scorpio wants to really go there, go very, very deep. And if their partner is just wanting a kind of maybe or, whether it's someone they've just met and it might be just a quick encounter and that's it, not enough for Venus in Scorpio. No. I need more than that. Yeah.
Yeah, it reminds me of conversations sometimes people have where they'll start to say something to someone else and they'll go, oh, no, I won't talk about that. And the person goes, talk about what? What do you...
Tell me more. I want to know. What was that you just...
Yeah, you've raised it.
That's right. Oh, no, it's not interesting. But they're completely riveted.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right. So Venus, her nature is to share. And in Scorpio is to share deeply and profoundly and to not just skim over the surface of anything, Yeah. And it's a very, often Venus in Scorpio is quite seductive, actually. It kind of can exude a natural magnetic seductive energy so for any of you singles out there, this might be your moment, over the 4 weeks that Venus is in Scorpio, there can be a sort of quite a strong magnetic, alluring, seductive vibe going on. If you start to meet people, might be a nice opportunity to get some of that energy going. Venus in Scorpio.
But I would imagine that, like for me, I don't enjoy chit chat, surface chit chat about non important things to me.
Yes.
I like to have discussions with other people that go deep, and as soon as you get together, you start talking about those things, you dive down into those subjects, and you just, I love to be in this depth,
Exactly. And that's what Venus and Scorpio wants in all relationship, even if it's just having coffee with your girlfriend, whatever, that's right. It's not just to sit and talk about your nice holiday. Well, that's nothing wrong with that. I enjoy that too, but absolutely, like, let's have a real conversation.
Yeah.
And that's just naturally what will happen.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. And, it can also be, what's often called, I love this phrase, pillow talk, like in bed at night with your lover, whether, you've made love or not, but just those deep conversations, deep into the night. Very Venus in Scorpio.
Or those deeply philosophical conversations you have till 3 a.m.
That's right.
You go, oh my God, look at the time,
Exactly. And you've really gone there, and uncovered a lot of things, but together, with another person, not just in your own ruminating. Yeah. And I also would like to think of Venus in terms of her love and appreciation of beauty. So anything to do with the arts in any form, like, it's just occurred to me, I've just signed up to another online course with one of my favorite painting teachers. And she's running this course, I think it's 5 or 6 weeks, on water. And it's a really deeply personal kind of sacred journey for her. And she's offering it from that place. Beautiful. And how perfect, this will be going on while Venus, which is a lot to do with that creativity, is in the depths of Scorpio. That's fantastic. I love that. So, yes. And a lot can be uncovered when planets go into Scorpio, a lot. From places that we might otherwise wish to bypass or avoid. We don't get to bypass things when Scorpio is active. If we don't go there, it will just rise up to make its presence felt anyway. So it can be very beneficial in people's relationships, Venus and Scorpio, but it can also stir up stuff that's been perhaps put on hold.
Yes, and you can have stinging conversations too.
Yes.
Where the words just go boom right to the heart of the matter.
Exactly. Because Scorpio wants to penetrate, you know, it doesn't want to just be on the surface. But the nice thing about Venus is she is a benefic. Usually she's coming from a place of love. You know, it is the love principle. But yeah, in Scorpio, it's kind of can be intense. Absolutely.
Well, I can see those two forces joining together, because that Venusian energy brings that calming, smoothing, diplomatic.
That's right.
Energy to those situations, which could be a little bit too scorpionic, you know, a little bit too stinging, a little bit too tough.
That's right.
Yeah, so it could be quite good actually for deep challenges to be raised in a relationship, for example, but that Venus just
exactly. You know, it's that dreaded moment in a relationship when one of the partners says, we need to talk. You know, that moment, the other one goes, oh.
I've said that a few times myself.
We need to talk. Uh-oh. Do we really need to talk?
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, Venus and Scorpio. Yeah. 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 So she'll be there for 4 weeks. On the 14th and around the couple of days, the day before, so 13th, 14th, 15th, the sun in Virgo will make an opposition to Neptune. And I just mention that because when these fast moving inner planets make contact with Neptune, and it can be just over a period of a few days, people very often suddenly find themselves like going, oh, where'd all my energy go? They feel zapped, they feel tired, they feel a bit emotional, a bit overwhelmed, a bit over it. Like this last week, we've had Mars in Virgo in opposition to Neptune. And I certainly noticed it. I really felt it. A few days ago, I felt myself coming out of that. But for a few days, I was like, oh, just feeling really heavy and quite sad and a bit overwhelmed and
me too.
Over everything.
Yes.
You know, it's just overwhelming. It's all too much.
Yes, had to go for a walk in nature yesterday to see the local bat colony and get away from it all, you know.
Exactly. So these planets moving through Virgo are going to be making these oppositions to Neptune, which is in Pisces. So I think it's really helpful to know that, because when I posted that on Facebook last week, if you're feeling so many people replied and said, oh God, thank you for explaining that. That makes so much sense. You know, it's really helpful.
Yes. Yeah.
For us to just know that's what's happening and it's not just me.
Yes.
And to go and we'll just go and lie down. You're just going to have a rest. Go to bed early. This is what's happening. Don't fight it. Yeah. So that's my recommendation, you know, over those few days, 13th, 14th.
This is why,
14th,
sorry, say that.
14th, 15th, 16th.
Right, yes. And this is why I love astrology, because I think that humans can endure anything if they understand.
Yes.
You know, if they understand what's going on, you know, I'm all right. I can go with that flow because I can see what's happening. I can understand it all. Yeah, and
that's exactly right. And with astrology, with the movement of the planets, if something's going on over a period of days or weeks or months or even over a year or two, we can also look after that and see that, okay, and that too shall pass.
Yes.
And we'll be in a new place.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
It's horrific and crazy and tumultuous that everything we're going through at the moment, it will pass.
It will pass. The world will be very different, but it will pass. There is another side of the other side of this. That's right. It'll take a while, but yes. Yeah.
I've had a few people say to me recently, you know, like they're just feeling very despairing.
Yes.
Despair, anguish. These are the types of the shift in the energy. And it's probably last week of what you've been saying, you know, it's like, oh gosh, you know, just that feeling of I just don't hope anymore. Or this is just way too much, you know, that sort of feeling.
That's right. Because sometimes there's a lot of fire energy going on in the field, you know, but now there's not a lot of that kind of high energy influence happening, and people are. And I think in a way, Sheryl, what you've just said, it's made me, you know, we think of Virgo as the digestive system. I think we're digesting. So it's like we have a lot to digest. So much has happened. So much has led to this. So much is going on so many levels in front of us and behind the scenes. It is a lot to digest. And I think, you know, if we've had a good meal to digest it, sometimes it's good just to lie down and rest for a while, or maybe go for a nice casual stroll to let the digestion happen. Sometimes we need to take a break, don't we, to just digest.
Yeah. And I think it's a bit like likening it to an olive that has to marinate before you can eat it.
That's right.
Before you can digest it. You can't eat an olive off a tree. It's just, I've tried, it's hard. You just can't do it.
Yes, and disgusting. That's right.
Revolting. So you've got to marinate it.
Mm-hmm.
We really are. We're being marinated in this sea of information and blurred truths and all this sort of stuff, you know, and frustration and anger and where's it all leading, and no light at the end of the tunnel, that sort of all those feelings, you know, we're marinating in that, but you know, at the same time we are changing as well as the liquid of the marination.
That's right. Amazing. That's a wonderful image and metaphor. That's absolutely right. And there's all those chemicals and juices as part of the marinating process and what goes on in the digestive system. We're processing so much information, which is what Virgo does, and trying to sift and sort and get to the essence of things. And, you know, I find people send me a lot of information. I pass information on. And I've noticed in the last few weeks, I just scan through it. I cannot take it all in, you know. I mean, and I'm pretty good at, you know, I like to keep up with what's happening, but I cannot. There is so much of it, and I need a break. So I scan through, and if anything jumps out, I go, okay, I'll watch that. And I might only watch the first half of it. You know, just needing to slow that process down.
And I think I've had quite a few people say to me, particularly this last week, including myself, is that they have to take a break. They have to step back and they have to take a break. And if you think about it, when we're having a meal, if you can't constantly eat, you get chock full.
That's right.
You know, to remain healthy, we've got to have a break between our meals so the body can deal with it.
Exactly.
Having this long meal of information for 18 months.
Indigestion. Yeah. That's right. And you know, so while we're in the Virgo time, like really use nature. It sounds like a terrible thing to say, but, you know, use it for our own benefit in the sense of just get outside, go for that walk, sit and listen to the birds. I took my 2 little grandchildren to the lake yesterday, actually, and we had the most lovely time. They played in the playground, then we went for a walk, and they're just really young, you know, and we're just seeing birds. And my little granddaughter, she's so aware of nature. Oh, look at this bird. Oh, look at this little ant. Oh, look at this, you know. And then we got to actually feed some crows. You know, they had their snacks and things, and we got to feed some, and they had the thrill of just watching these crows come, throwing food to them, watching them come. It's so beautiful. It's so simple. That's the kind of thing we're needing, particularly during this Virgo period. We'll get out and plant some herbs and vegetables or whatever. Yeah. Keep it. Yeah, just take a break from all that stuff.
Just talking about it's worn me out.
I know, that's right. Okay, so Here's something that's interesting. On the 17th, on the 15th, Mars leaves Virgo. And so, you know, if we come back to that digestion metaphor, which is a very useful one for Virgo, you know, Mars in Virgo has got a lot to do with digestive fire, and it can stir up the digestive system. Like, I know someone who gets a lot of that Mars Virgo digestive inflammation, you know, things that end in itis in the body, often ruled by Mars. So in Virgo, you can get that going on in the gut, literally. On the 15th, Mars is going to leave Virgo. Some people are going to find that quite a relief and quite helpful. And we'll go into the sign of Libra, which is interesting because Libra is a Venus sign. You know, Libra loves balance and harmony, and Mars is the god of war. But Libra is also the sign of law, legal systems, people who work in legal systems, and Mars is the warrior. So there's already a lot of signs of a lot of legal activity going on and pushback going on. I think we're going to see a lot more in that area.
I imagine, though, with Mars going into Libra, it could be a little bit frustrated.
Yes.
You know, and feel thwarted, I think. So that's going to be interesting to see how that plays out too.
Yes. Because the warrior is made for battle, whatever that means to us. And it also wants to initiate and get things going. It's action, you know, it's masculine yang action energy. And Libra's all peace and harmony and balance and equilibrium.
So you're going to have this Mars energy coming up against this. No, we want calm and peace, thank you.
Yeah. But I think how Mars can operate in Libra is through strategy, intelligence, negotiation, working with others. You know, like Mars, when he's in Aries in his own sign, he just let me at it, just go, you know, gung-ho and charges in because he's got all this strength and he's on full power. But in Libra, he has to sit and discuss, negotiate, use strategy, work it out together, make a plan, and use law, use intelligence. You know, it's an air sign. So if we'll see that playing out in the world, but if we relate that to our own life, you know, what might that look like in our own life? You know, how can we perhaps strategize? So it's not gung-ho in Libra. Yeah, he is a bit frustrated there for sure. It's not his natural domain. He has to play nice.
How long does Mars stay in Libra?
6 weeks.
6 weeks. So what does it go to after Libra? Because I'm thinking of that thwarted, if there is any thwarted, frustrated, pent-up energy, it's going to release it maybe into the next sign, wouldn't it?
It certainly is. You're onto something.
Yeah, so what's that?
Scorpio.
Oh, my God.
And Mars also rules Scorpio, rules Aries and Scorpio. So after the negotiating and teamwork that Mars has to learn to do when it's in Libra, then it can really go to battle.
Wow, yeah.
Like really. And I'm going to say something strong here, but this is one of the strong expressions of Mars in Scorpio, to the death if need be. It's got that kind of quality.
Yes.
You know?
You're thinking about that scorpion that's attacking. Boom.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly. And it's the killer instinct. So that will be very strong.
Oh, I'm looking forward to that.
Yes. Yes. Because, you know, Mars is at home in Scorpio. It's like, okay, I've prepared myself, you know, through all the previous signs. I've got my tools ready. I got my kit ready. You know, when it's in Virgo, he's cleaning his tools. This is just a metaphor, you know, the warrior. He's healing his wounds. He's cleaning his tools. He's repairing his weapons. In Libra, he's working with others, teamwork, negotiation. Scorpio, right, now we're ready. Pretty intense. And of course, the at the end of October, the sun will go into Scorpio. So when we get to that latter part of the year and we have planets in Scorpio and we'll have Mars in Scorpio, things are going to get very intense, very powerful. We ain't seen nothing yet.
Yes, and I'm just thinking more intense in the US in January, leading up to January, because I believe that there is some some powerful alignments happening in January.
Oh, absolutely.
January, which will affect the rest of the world.
Absolutely. The Pluto return to the United States is, I mean, they're already in the prelude to that. It's been leading up for years and years and years. And it's a massive watershed. It's huge. We'll have a lot to say about that. Towards the end of every year, I always run a full day workshop on all the transits and eclipses and so on for the following year. And I'll probably do a Zoom call on that as well, because for people who can't come and hear in person, and who knows whether we'll be in lockdown or not. So I'll try and work around that as best I can. But yeah, I will absolutely be having a good look at the US chart, because it's just so important. Of course, what happens there is going to have a huge impact on the rest of the world. It's a key piece. So yeah.
And that, I think that Pluto, was it returned?
Yes.
That's like the last time it was there, it was like 240 years ago or something, wasn't it?
That was when the country was born.
That's right. Oh, this is going to be huge.
Oh, it's massive. This is like, so every 250 years, a nation or a civilization or a culture has a Pluto return. And I remember coming across an article that was written by someone who wasn't even an astrologer, who said something like empires have a 250-year cycle. And he made no reference to astrology. So I think he was just talking about this in terms of historical frameworks.
Yeah. So
something massive is coming. It's already happening, actually, if you know how to see that. It's already happening, but yeah, it's going to be huge. And the aftermath of that too will be huge. So yeah, it's interesting, isn't it, that the lead up to that is these energies in Scorpio.
Yes, yeah.
So yes, and then of course all of that brings us to the full moon on the 21st of September, which just happens to be our spring equinox.
Yes, I know.
How about that? It's always a powerful date. And the full moon will be at 28 degrees of Pisces, opposite the sun at 28 of Virgo. So we'll have a look at well, actually the spring equinox, according to my computer astrology program, doesn't actually occur until the morning of the 23rd. So it's not always exactly on the 21st, because it's actually the moment when the sun enters the sign of Libra. That's when our spring equinox actually takes place. So it's usually very on or very close to the 21st. So we'll have the full moon then followed by the spring equinox. So that's an important few days as well.
So not a huge month of things that we have to deal with, but this is like, I'm thinking of, like pedaling to create energy and storing the energy in a battery. Ready for a later date,
Yes, it feels like a time of kind of repair and preparation and taking care of ourselves, taking care of our house.
And I brought up the question of preppies.
Yes, that's right.
Yes.
That is absolutely right. And and I'm reminded of, like there's this saying that when there are storms, fishermen repair their nets. When they can't go out to sea, they repair their nets. And then they're ready for when they can go out to sea, So, yeah. It feels like that's the sort of time we're in.
Keep planting those seeds, Babula.
Yes, I am. I planted some yesterday, some put some little seeds in, and I love it because then you go out there every single day and you watch and you make sure they've got just the right amount of water and you watch for them to sprout.
Yes, I planted some tomatoes for this season, and I put little seedlings in because we were a little bit late putting them in.
Yeah.
Now they're nearly as tall as I am.
Wow, that's fantastic.
I've been getting tomatoes on. Hallelujah. It took forever, but yeah.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Well, the weather's starting to warm up a bit now. So everything will start taking off. Then it gets too hot. But anyway.
Yes. Well,
yes.
Bit of shade cloth, you'll be fine.
Yes, exactly. Well, I've got a good spot out here with a cover over it. So yeah.
Yeah, it's great. Well, for anyone who wants to join your webinar on
the asteroids.
The asteroids. Now, they probably won't get this until it's the second week's already done.
But they can get the recordings.
Yes. Get the recordings.
Yes, because the recordings, it's both a video and an audio. So you've got both. And I do PowerPoint. So you get the whole PowerPoint presentation with a ton of Virgo South Node. I enjoy it. It's actually a creative process for me, but it's a lot of work. I put in so much information. So there's a lot of information.
Yes, I have notes.
Great. So and you're still welcome to join, and you can do the third one live or just get the recordings. Yeah, for sure. The asteroids.
Yes. And why is it important for people to be aware of asteroids?
Well, the asteroids, the first few hundred discovered in the 1800s were named after goddesses. So they have a feminine energy, which is a departure from the tradition of naming planets after male deities. And they can really, the stories behind the mythological stories behind these goddesses can give us so much more information. And what we find is that each of us sort of resonate and align with certain of those goddess energies. We might, like I resonate very strongly with Vesta, really strongly, and she's placed strongly in my chart. And when I discovered that, years ago, I went, oh, wow, that really feels like me, but she's not the only one. There are others as well. And they just give us a lot of very interesting added information about who we are and what we're about, and what our natural tendencies are and how we operate, Yeah, very, very interesting. And it's feminine. It's of the feminine energy, and it represents this sense that the feminine energy is coming through stronger and stronger. And it is. I mean, I see it like the women, with everything that's going on now, so many extraordinary women are really coming forward.
So the best way for people to learn about astrology, I should say the best way for people to understand astrology is to learn it, to go to classes. And Babula has classes on quite a few different aspects. So yes. I always put your website in the description.
Oh, thanks, Sheryl.
Anyone can click on your web address and have a look at information on your website too.
Yeah, and just join up to the newsletter, because that's my main way of sending out, information about what I'm doing and what I'm offering.
Yeah.
And for personal readings and so on. Yeah.
Thank you so much once again.
Pleasure as always, and fun.
It's been fun and interesting and enlightening, and so much. So it's been great, but I'll see you again in another 2 weeks.
You certainly will.
I'll see you sooner than that at the next asteroid webinar, but
yes,
which I'm looking forward to, because the last one was just bang on for me.
Yes, well, this next one is got a lot to do with the healing goddesses and also the goddesses of prophecy, the oracles. Very interesting.
Yeah, great, because I'm very interested in all the healing.
Absolutely.
So we'll be doing this again, everyone, in another 2 weeks. So join us then. And until then, take care.
Bye.
Bye.